Hello, my name is Kate, and this is Castle Tutelage, your home defense network. About a year and a half or 2 years ago, I forgot how long it was, I put up video on my channel that I had a confrontation with two guys on the highway. And it's been a very extraordinarily popular video. I'd say about 95% of the comments are something to do with that. And I'm just going to go through the story real quick because I want to set it up. Okay, it was in Minnesota. It was after a big snowstorm. Anywhere between 8 and 12 inches of snow fell, and it was a weekend night, and there was absolutely no one on the roads. I was coming home from work. It was somewhere between 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, and absolutely no one was on a major interstate in Minneapolis. It was an 8-lane highway, and no one was coming or going. Okay, and I was driving along, and I was just putting along, and I don't know, doing about 20, 30 miles an hour. I had a 35-mile drive back to my house, so I was just puddling along, listening to the radio, and all of a sudden I had to change lanes. And I was doing it very slowly because there was no one around. Okay, all of a sudden I see these two big bright lights in my windows flashing their headlights saying, "Hey, Jacko, I'm trying to get through here." You know, that kind of scenario where, you know, I'm being the slow poke changing lanes. And it was kind of disconcerting. You know, they had to be traveling very fast. And I know that they were traveling very fast. Well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that later. Basically, what they did is they pulled around me and then slammed on their brakes. I tried to stay behind them, but I ended up about 2 rows to my left and side by side. I was kind of startled by it. I didn't know what their intentions were, and I don't believe they got out. It's been a while. I don't believe that they got out of the car at that time. What I did is I kept on driving. And then they sped up again and slammed on the brakes. But this time, 2 people came out of their cars. I didn't see anything in their hands, so I started driving again. Then these guys, you know, they went around me again, and they sped off. They were in a Mustang, if I remember right. It was silver with a blue stripe, and they were just hauling ass. They were just moving like you wouldn't believe. They went around the bend, and then about, I don't know, about a minute later, I came around and I saw them. They wiped out in the median there, and at that point, I called the police and put in a complaint. Last time I heard that they were arrested for a 5th-degree assault, and I never followed up on there. And the point of this video is, like, when I'm telling this story, a lot of people like to interject what they believe thought happened, and it's very interesting that people are their minds take them where the story didn't, and they try to get very complicated on what I did wrong. It was just fine. What I actually did is, what would you do? Not what I did wrong, because I thought this was more of a teaching moment than anything else. And it got into a bunch of what-if situations. This could have happened, this could have happened, this could have happened. Yeah, all those what-if situations could have happened, but we were dealing with the facts now. And when you are dealing with the law, in my opinion, you are dealing with what you know to be now. The perfect example is that the father down, I think it was in Dallas, heard his daughter in stress, and then he grabs his gun and he goes to her room, and he sees this guy on top of her, and he goes, "What is this?" And the daughter says, "This is a stranger," or something to that effect. And the boy probably did something, to a maneuver or so, and then the father pulled out his weapon and shot and killed the boy. What happened later on, it was realized that the boy was the girl's boyfriend, and she was afraid because of family values that she told a lie. and didn't want the father to know that she was doing the hokey pokey in his house. So when you're dealing with the law, you don't deal with in what if scenarios. Like a lot of people would say, when they got out of the car, I would have got on mine because I wouldn't want to get shot in a kill box. You know, that would be good advice if you saw a weapon in their hand and if you didn't have any place to escape and evade. The story clearly said that I kept on driving. You don't need to be getting out of the highway, out of your car into the highway, because now you have no barrier between you and the two jackals, whether they're on drugs or alcohol or just hopped up on adrenaline and steroids or whatever. You don't know. So to get out of the car when you have a clear way of escape and you see no weapons is really irresponsible. Let's say that you did get out of your car and then they come after you. What are you going to be doing? You're at no, well, let me put it this way. You are forcing yourself to escalate the fight. Okay? That make my day attitude is really disconcerting when obviously there's a lot of people who are going to that video and are watching it because they are concealed carry personnel, and then they're talking about them escalating it in every sense of the word. You know, with the snow, with the highway, with the two guys, all that is nonsense. All that extra information is absolute nonsense. The only two things that you are interested in is what? That you see no weapons on the two guys and you have a way to escape and avoid. Plain and simple. You didn't need to know how many inches there were. Did I back up? How many cars there were? Their lanes. You know, some people accuse me that I didn't give you enough information to make an intelligent decision. You know, don't make this so complicated that it makes you feel like you have to stand your ground like a stubborn mule and just go and just stand there and try to escalate the situation. I would say the majority of the comments would that they would get out of the car, show the weapon, and verbally dress them down. It really can be argued that two guys doesn't really qualify for disparity of force if you pull out a weapon, especially if you're in your car. How can two guys with no weapons in their hands, I'm talking no baseball bats, no tire irons, anything like that, how are two guys going to be an immediate threat here and now, following the five demarcation lines? How can you really justify that? It's your decision to get out of the car. Yeah, I understand the mentality. If they did have a weapon, maybe getting out of your car and taking cover is probably a better bet instead of being in your kill box, is what a majority of are saying. And I don't know if it's the same guy talking, but he is. Now that I think about it, he does use the same words. So when you're going through these ideas in your mind, and hopefully that you are doing some kind of gymnastics in your mind and going over the five demarcation zones and really trying to understand what it is that you're looking for. Again, the story that I told has been really broken down, and the two things that are most important to you are what? Those two had no weapon shown, and you had a clear path for escape and evade. My name is Caden. This is Castle Tutelage, your home defense network. I hope this